Today I've got twin guests, two mighty fine spinners, very, very old school, cut from the old cloth. I've got Rahul Sanghvi and Ramesh Powar. Welcome to Spin Talks, guys. Ramesh has always been called Ramsey. I can understand why, because of his name. I don't understand why you were called Ravan or still are called Ravan. Rahul Sanghvi, we won't go to your nicknames. We will leave it aside. We will stick to Rahul. Welcome to Spin Talks, guys.
Thanks, Kartik. It's good to be on the show, and it's good to see Ramesh after such a long time. Hope everyone is doing well in these hours of uncertainties.
Same here, Rahul, after a long time. And I like the introduction, the old school classical spinners. And about my nicknames, there is a story, so I'll share that story afterwards. I used to be connected with you.
Oh, is it connected with me? Okay, that's good to hear. Look, you guys have been old school, literally old school. And it's just amazing now that we have stopped playing the game, now that we are all watching the game, and you guys are actually part of coaching. Rahul has been a selector himself of Delhi. Now he handles a huge team like Mumbai Indians, handles so many spinners. Ramesh, you've been the coach of the Indian women's team. And right now, in fact, you're responsible because a lot of responsibility on you, being the spin bowling coach at NCA. We'll get there. But everything starts somewhere. For all of us, the seeds are sown somewhere for us to be spinners. Rahul and Ramesh, how did it start for you guys?
Well, quite interesting. It started by chance for me, actually. I was, when we moved to Delhi, my parents moved to Delhi, joined Sardar Patel School. And my house was very close to Sardar Patel School, my school. And after school, I used to sit there and watch the school team practicing because I was just close by 5 minutes walk from the school. And we had a very good school team, Sardar Patel Vidyalaya. Of course, Kartik would also know that, same school. And the school team would practice and I would just sit and watch. And before that as well, before coming to Delhi, in Ahmedabad, I was in Xavier's, played for fun in the school. We had a huge ground with a lot of trees. So the trees used to become the wickets. And as kids, we used to just keep playing cricket whenever lunch break or whatever break we had. So when I came to Delhi, and obviously school like Sardar Patel, which was into cricket, into sports, and house being close to the school, I would just stay back after school and watch the team play. So one of those days, we had this other cricketer in our school, Ajay Jadeja. So he was a senior and he was practicing. He didn't have anyone to bowl at him. So he said, "Would you like to bowl at me?" Because I was sitting there idly and watching. So he said, "Would you bowl at me?" I said, "Of course." So those days I used to do that, Chinaman. So I bowled at him like 2 days. It happened I was doing Chinaman.
Don't say Chinaman during these times, Rahul. No Chinaman during these times.
But I wish I had continued with Chinaman. There would have been less competition. There are only few Chinaman bowlers and everyone wants to see them, you know. So I used to bowl Chinaman. Then Ajay, for his own interest, said, "Can you bowl like this? Finger spin." So I started off finger spinning third day, and within a week I was playing with the school junior team and senior team. So it just happened by chance. And then we had a coach, Gurcharan sir, Dronachari awardee, Gurcharan sir. The formative stage was thanks to him. I got into the team. I got into playing cricket by chance, but he gave us direction. He gave us direction how to go about your game, hard work. There were times, in monsoons, we would practice indoors in the canteen because it was raining. He would ensure that practice continues. There were times when after practice hours, he would still continue with practice in the canteen. So the formative years, how to go about the game, it was thanks to the sir, Gurcharan sir, who was there. It started with chance. And then eventually I got to meet Bedi sir. That also happened by chance. In those days in Delhi, there used to be a lot of parliamentarian matches against former India players. So one of those matches at Parliament Ground, there was a match between politicians and the former players, and Gurcharan sir organized that, and he wanted young boys to be there for fielding and all. That's how he got us to interact with the former players. And Bedi sir, being Bedi sir, fond of left arm spin and talking and always loved talking to kids and all and talking about cricket. So he comes to the group and said, "Who are our left arm spinners here?" So I said, "Sir, I'm a left arm spinner." He said, "Come son, bowl." So he made me bowl in that game against the parliamentarians, and he was standing in the slip. After that, he was like in the slip, and "Oh my God, that's good. Come on, son, toss it up more. After the match was over, and I'm asking my mates, I said, who's this Sanaji? I mean, I didn't even know that he's the great left-hand spinner Bishen Singh Bedi, because those were the early days for me. And he came to me and said, son, that was good. That was good. We need to work harder. And from that day onwards, with Gurcharan sir, and then I got an opportunity to work with Bedi sir. And then rest is history. And that's how it started.
Ramsey, your turn, brother.
I think mine, I think you can call it a destiny, because my journey started in Mumbai. It's obvious that you're going to play with the rubber ball in your backyards. And if you're a gated community, there will be 10, 20 boys, they will be playing with you. So it started there with the rubber ball cricket. But my father was working in a correction home, in a medical staff. So at the time, there were used to be 100, 150 kids in that correction home. And as a staff member, we used to mix with them.
Okay.
And we used to play a lot of cricket. There was a ground, superb ground there. And my father was playing a little bit of cricket with those kids too, because you want them to, stay away from bad things. So the staff used to organize matches between staff, kids, and those boys who were in the correction home. So, and there were a lot of talented boys, I can tell you that, because in Mumbai, everyone plays cricket. It's not that big a deal. But honestly, when I started thinking seriously, when I saw my brother
Kiran.
he played under 16, he played under 19, he was the captain of India under 19. So when you come from a low middle class family, the money my brother used to get, or the life he got after starting the cricket, that attracted me more. I was not serious about cricket that much, because I was just watching my brother grow and see him wearing nice clothes, going to practice in the morning, not doing any work at all. So it was my getaway, honestly, from some situations in my house, which are very personal, which I wanted to. It was my getaway. It was my thing where I could do things freely. My father was very supportive about it. I was very good in studies till 7th as normal kid. And one day my coach, Ramakant Achrekar sir, was there. He used to come to watch games there, and he in that correction home, because there is a proper ground, there's a proper wicket. And he came down to see my brother play, because my brother was playing that game for practice. Because my coach used to say that whichever matches you can play, be it a nonsense match, go and play that rather than practice. So whether he's playing for under 16, but still he's there playing with those boys. And I was at the other end, and that match happened. I scored some 10, 15 runs, and my brother came to me after that game and told me that sir want you to play the cricket, because then Shardashram English medium was very strong team, and my brother was captain of Shardashram Marathi medium, so it was weak team. So sir was looking for players. So I thought, just give it a try, just get away from this and start playing cricket. I will get to travel with my brother, and by that time you get used to those kind of things where you want to play cricket, you want to be on ground, you have that much of energy. And sir encouraged me to get into the cricket. I went onto the ground. It was 10 minutes walk from my house, the Shivaji Park, as you all know, in Mumbai. So I used to walk down to the ground. I used to practice in a club net, because sir wanted me to see what exactly I can do with the hard ball. And I used to bowl fast bowling then, not off spinner at all. So I was only picked to, get into that team to make that 11 basically of that particular school. Eventually I led that school after 2 years. And I didn't bat, I didn't bowl, I didn't feel for first 2 to 3 days. I don't know why. But then again, my brother told my sir that, sir, Ramesh आया है, उसको कुछ कराना है कि नहीं कराना है. तो sir used to look at 5-6 nets together. So उनको ये पता ही नहीं होता था कौन कहाँ है. So उन्होंने मुझे बच्चों के साथ अलग से एक बैटिंग कराई. ठीक है, ये हार्ड हिटर है, उसको रखेंगे. मैं तो रबर बॉल से खेलता था, तो मारू बॉल को, बस इतना ही पता था. तो उतना ही चल रहा था. फिर स्कूल में टीम में जगह बनी. फिर मैं एज अ बैट्समैन स्लोली इम्प्रूव हो गया. और मैं तब तक टाइम पास के लिए क्रिकेट खेल रहा था. जब तक मैं स्कूल क्रिकेट खेला हूँ, मैंने सिर्फ एंजॉय किया है क्रिकेट. ना मैं अंडर 16 खेला हूँ, ना मैं अंडर 19 का तो एक ही मैच खेला हूँ. क्योंकि तब तक आप इस में रहते हो कि ये बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, मुझे जो करने मिल रहा है मैं कर रहा हूँ. कुछ चीजें जिससे मैं भाग रहा हूँ उससे ठीक है, वो तो वहीं रहेंगी, वहां मुझे जाना नहीं है कहीं कहीं जगह पे. तो मुझे क्रिकेट से मैं सुबह जाता था 7 बजे, शाम को 6 बजे घर पे वापस आता था. मैं शिवाजी पार्क ग्राउंड में ही रहता था. तो ईच एंड एवरी प्लॉट मुझे पता है, कहाँ कहाँ क्या है पता है. क्योंकि वो 3-4 साल मेरे बेस्ट थे लाइफ के, जहाँ मुझे लाइफ कैसे जीते उसकी सीख मिल गई है. और उसके बाद अंडर 19 के बाद एक झटका सा लगा कि अब तो कुछ बचा ही नहीं है. आचरेकर सर को तब तक पैरालिसिस हो चुका था. मैं कॉलेज में 12th तक जा चुका था और आगे कुछ दिख ही नहीं रहा था कि पता ही नहीं अब क्या करना है. कि तब मुझे हिट हुआ ये कि अरे यार, मैंने तो क्रिकेट शुरू किया है, मैंने पढ़ाई पे ध्यान दिया ही नहीं तब, क्योंकि मैंने उतना टाइम स्पेंड ही नहीं किया पढ़ाई में और घर में. तो फिर वो रियलिटी जब आपको हिट करती है तो आप फिर हाथ पैर जोर से मारने लगते हो. ये मुझे तब अब पता चल रहा है, क्योंकि अब मैं पीछे मुड़ के देख रहा हूँ, इसलिए तब तो पता नहीं चला था. लकीली दिलीप वेंसरकर सर ने अंडर 19 ओवर एज लड़कों के लिए एक एकेडमी में एक नेट रखा था. बाकी सब अंडर 16 और अंडर 19 के लड़के थे. और पता नहीं उन्होंने एक अंडर 19 के लिए एक उन्होंने सोचा था कि जो ओवर एज हो चुके हैं, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लड़के ओवर एज हो चुके थे कि जो 1-2 मैच खेले हुए हैं, लेकिन उनको लगा टैलेंटेड है. तो उन्होंने हमारे बीच में एक मैच कराया. तो मैंने 2 मैच में 250 के नॉट आउट. तो एज अ बैट्समैन उन्होंने मुझे सिलेक्ट कर लिया वहां पे. और वहां क्या होता था कि आपने अगर इरोस ओवल मैदान देखा हुआ है तो ये बहुत खुला ग्राउंड है. इट्स एन ओपन ग्राउंड. सो यू कैन फील द ब्रीज बहुत है वहां पे, अगर आप आज भी जाओगे तो. नेट खत्म होते होते मैं वहां आई यूज्ड टू बोल that someone has to bowl to the last batsman. Or luckily Vasu Paranjpe sir was there. So it is destiny. My destiny is very strong, I guess. Or tabhi I used to bowl half an hour to the batsman. Or because of the breeze, Vasu sir used to enjoy my drift and turn. I don't know, because of the videos I've seen, matches I've seen of Pat Simcox और से मुरलीधरन और से जो भी बॉलर्स मुझे देखने, मणिंदर सिंह वाज समथिंग स्पेशल, क्योंकि मुझे लग रहा था कि उनका बॉल ऐसे नीचे डिप होता है. तो वो एक क्यूरियोसिटी बहुत थी मेरे में तभी. तो डिफरेंट रिलीजेस करता था. तो वासु परांजपे सर ने वो पिक कर लिया कि इसको बेसिकली इज गॉट अ लिटिल बिट देयर. सो he started supporting me that Ramesh, you have to bowl every time you come to the practice. Then journey started. In I think 1 year's time I was a different bowler altogether. I was ready for anything, in fact. And Dilip sir was in shock that he used to come for the batting. He used to come for batting for say half an hour. We used to bowl at him. And he used to ask Vasu sir, why you're making a batsman bowl so much? He's not a bowler, he's a batsman. You have to make him batsman. But Vasu sir convinced him that no, he's not. He will become a good all-rounder. Not a big all-rounder, but a good all-rounder, a utility player. And that happened. And luckily I got connected with Makran Vaingankar sir. You must be knowing, he's a journalist, former journalist. He was very supportive about those players who were not in the picture. I was now nowhere. I was overage. Then because he knew my background, where I come from. I used to travel from say, if you know Dadar, almost Dadar to Churchgate without ticket because finances were not great. So he knew what exactly is happening. So he was looking for a job for me in railways, which I got eventually because of his help and Dilip sir's help. And that journey also helped me a lot. Those 2.5 years in Central Railway eh, taught me a lot of things. I think Katy can always come in and share his stories, but I've learned a lot of things there. Under 19 gets over, then Dilip sir was very supportive about my bowling also afterwards, and I played a lot of club cricket. In fact, I got a story where I just I just threw my towel that I don't want to play cricket. I can't sit out and watch games. That is my problem. At that particular age, I was like that. I was very rebellious, and a lot of people know me like that because of certain things. You become like that. I was selected. I got wickets in club cricket. I got selected for Mumbai Cricketer Association's 11 to play a police shield, where Amol Muzumdar was captain. Okay, and the first game happens at MIG Bandra uh, against MIG. I've been dropped, so I was upset because I was picking up wickets in club cricket. I was upset that I have to play a 36-year-old Naushad Khan is playing, father of Sarfaraz. You maybe knowing him now, but at that particular time I was 19, 20, so I was very upset about it, and I just took my bag and I told Amol and the chairman of selectors that I'm not going to be part of your team. I'm going to leave, and I'll find my way to play this tournament in another team. So Amol Muzumdar asked me twice, "What you're doing? Just cool down and think what you're doing." Also, chairman of selector at that particular time told me that I will make sure that you will not play for Mumbai again. I said, okay, it's fine. I'm not here to play for Mumbai. I just want to play cricket. I go away from that game. Next three league games I play semi-final, I play final. Lalchand Rajput was captain of Mumbai Police. He he, he somehow convinced police team that he wants me to play tournament. I become the best bowler of the tournament. I become best batsman of the tournament, and then I get picked in probables. Then the journey starts, and so on and so forth. So it is destiny where I think it's destiny that you meet certain people. Some of them support you, some of them discourages you. So it happens. So that's my story.
That's it's a fascinating story which I know because see, look, I know both your stories because I've played with you, and Rahul is somebody I need to say this. I always say that Bishen, Bedi and Maninder Singh were the reason why I learnt left arm spin, but the reason why I became whatever was because I saw this man Rahul Sanghvi practice hours on end, and I realized when a natural left arm spinner can practice so much, what about me who was not a left arm spinner, who was a seamer, who's trying to learn? तो मुझे कितना bowling डालना पड़ेगा? So मैं राहुल के बगल में मैंने इतना bowling डाला है जिस वजह से मैं left arm spinner बना. नहीं तो रमेश, it's like you, डेस्टिनी है. आई थिंक राहुल का भी डेस्टिनी ही है. एवरीबडी इज डेस्टिनी, क्योंकि कहाँ बंदा बाहर बैठा हुआ है, चाइना मैन डाल रहा है. एंड आई नो अजय मेड हिम डू दिस फॉर हिज ओन स्वार्थ, which became very good for Rahul. And Ajay also became a captain whom I really am a big fan of. Ajay as a captain, I think Rahul will also say the same. And then Bishen Bedi happened to both of us. Can you get somebody better? Matlab, Ramsey, yours was different because you had Bombay is a culture of sport, especially cricket. But in spite of having had greats like Paddy Sir, Padmalkar Shivalkar, Bombay still hasn't produced a huge legacy of spinners. It's funny. It's a strange one क्योंकि अगर आप सोच के देखो, बॉम्बे में जिस विकेट पे भी जाओ, अभी तो थोड़ा चेंज हो गया है. पहले तो हर विकेट पे हर स्पिनर को बाउंस मिलता था. तो you should think, yeah, you had in your time you had yourself Sairaj Bhautule and Nilesh Kulkarni, very fine spinners. But apart from that, if you look at Bombay, जितना बैटिंग का एक कल्चर है, उतना स्पिन बॉलिंग का कल्चर नहीं है. So it's a very interesting one that you became an old school spinner from that. And also मुझे याद है, the first time I saw you, you were not the Ramesh Powar you became. You were still flatter through the air. You were much quicker through the air. And Rahul has always been flight. Rahul has always been flight and dip and very different. So it's a fascinating story for all of us to know how it happens. And Rahul, for you as well, did Bishen Paji happen immediately? Because you said you had no idea. So for you to get there and then to learn your own technique and spin, if you can talk us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I will add to what Ramesh said. It all started by chance, but obviously we all playing the game because we enjoyed the game. We liked going on the ground, playing the game, and keeping away from school and doing that physical part, which was really enjoyable. So it started by chance in school, and then in a year's time, I think I was with thanks to Ajay's help, we were neighbors as well. His house was also like 5 minutes away from school. We were like very close to each other. So after school, he would always take me for his own interest, for his own batting practice. He would just take me, and we would play together. I still remember, after school, 2 hours of practice, he would be batting, I would be bowling, and then he'll take me to Khan Market. So in between the school and our home, there used to be a market called Khan Market, which is a very popular market in Delhi. And then he would buy me a rimzing. I still remember for long, for
What is it?
not many days.
What
He
is it
had
called? Rim Gym.
rimzing.
What is Rim Gym?
Rimzing was an aerated drink made by
Acha, aerated.
Parley Group, Thumbs Up, same company. It's still available. So I saw it recently in NSC, and I said, I need to pick this drink, man. This is my childhood memories, and I still keep getting them. So I mean, what I'm trying to say is that we all started because of the fun of playing the game. In those days, it wasn't about I want to play somewhere or anything. It all started because I enjoy the game. I like being outdoor. I like the company of the other cricketers who are around me, and also in school when you're playing cricket, because there was a culture in our school for sports. When you're playing a sport, you're respected in a different way, and that whole the aura about playing that game and the enjoyment you played. So initially it was playing for the school team, and I'm really fortunate that I was under Gurcharan sir, because he was a tough master. He was all about discipline, working hard, even to the extent that if you have to play or if you have to practice, you got to roll the wicket. He said, It is not that you'll get anything easy. If the ground staff is not there, we guys have to go and roll. So he was a tough master. He inculcated the right habits. He inculcated how the game has to be played. And the flight part was because even Gurcharan sir, Ramesh, I don't know whether you've seen him, but if you see him bowling, you would say, okay, he bowls something like me. He used to toss the ball up, hold the ball in the air, drift, and let the ball come in. And even at the age of, that time when I met him, he was about 50 or something, and he was still able to do that. So I picked those habits from him initially. And I think I was playing under 16 cricket. I got a chance early to play under 16. That's when thanks to Gurcharan sir, I happened to meet Bedi sir because of that match. And as Kartik said, like we used to interact a lot, though we had senior like Manivya and Bedi sir as a coach. But how spinners work in tandem on the ground, we were working in tandem in our practice sessions as well. So we learned a lot from each other and many other spinners around us. So it was just...
Hey, hello. You didn't learn anything from me. I was the one learning from you because I had no idea. So Bishen Paji and Mani Bhaiya would teach us and go, you would be doing it, I'll be trying to follow. I had no idea. I was a blank slate. So please, you're being very nice to me by saying that I used to learn from him. Sorry, it was the other way around. Sorry to interrupt you.
Those days were good days. The only thing was the enjoyment, and there was no agenda. We were just playing and working hard because we liked the game so much that we wanted to. Like for me, left arm spin, I was not a good batsman, but spin bowling, I just enjoyed it. I could bowl hours together because that's how Gurcharan sir and Bedi sir had taught us. You have to practice. It's an art, and it is not like fast bowling. It is not like batting. This is something which you have to perfect. It's an art, and for art, you have to keep practicing day in and day out, and that's how we were brought up. And one thing is saying that you got to put in the hard yards, but the other thing is doing it. And you can only do it if you're enjoying it. So every ball that was delivered in practice, I remember National Stadium, we used to talk about it, okay, single wicket practice, how the ball would turn, and we would feel good about it. I said, okay, let me try again next ball. Let me see whether the arm ball is going or not. And we'll continue bowling. And things started happening on its own because there was no agenda. It was just, I never thought when I started playing cricket, I want to play under 16 or I want to play under 19 or I want to play Ranji Trophy. Nothing like that. It was just fun part. With fun, a lot of things came around. Like we started playing club cricket. I remember being 15 or 16, I was playing for the National Stadium main team where we had players like Mani Bhaiya, Kirti Bhaiya, Kirti Azad, and Gurcharan Singh, and Vivek Razdan, and Ajay Jadeja, Nikhil Chopra, many others. And of course, Kartik. After me, Kartik came in. So playing at playing club cricket for National Stadium was big. So after that initial stage where I was spotted, thanks to Ajay for his own practice, Gurcharan sir taking me in National Stadium and working with me, and then making me play for the club cricket. National Stadium was a big club in the league cricket circuit. And playing club cricket got me an opportunity to play under 16, and then under 16 made me play under 19, and that's how the path started for me. But all in all, it was all about, as an individual, cricket starting by chance, but me enjoying it. I mean, I just loved being outdoor, just loved bowling, and things followed. I mean, it's just, I think everything else was a byproduct. The first thing was your enjoyment, and you enjoying bowling and putting the hard yards.
Ramsey, the same thing. I'll come back to you on that bit when in 2000 when I saw you, and I've seen you before, and I remember you had the action. The action was still the same, but you were much quicker through the air. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Because once the NCA ended and once you were there for a bit, you just became a different bowler. Am I right in saying it, or talk to me through that journey? Because it was a huge transformation. I know you mentioned Vasu sir. Vasu sir was also part of that NCA. And Vasu sir, although he was not a spinner himself, but he was just a brilliant cricket brain, just an outstanding cricket brain who knew how to teach young kids. Was he an influence, or was there some other spin guru whom you looked up to?
Absolutely right. I think my journey was, Kartik, was very different. When I look back now, there was no specialized coach. I was never told what the grip is. So I was learning on my own from the feedback of batsmen. A lot of videos when there were a lot of games going on. I was watching Murali, Pat Simcox. I used to watch my seniors. I used to copy their action. But first game of Ranji Trophy where I played, I bowled only 2 overs in the, I think it was knockout game against Rajasthan at Wankhede. Fourth day, wickets generally were very different. Okay, Wankhede is totally different. When fourth day at Wankhede, it was impossible to bat against bowlers, spinners especially.
Yeah.
The bounce we used to get, it was difficult to bat. So first thing I bowled 2 overs, 10 runs. I was nervous. I was bowling flattish. And the fourth day comes. Rajasthan is chasing 300 plus. They are 3 wickets down, needing only 120 runs. And almost 40 overs left, 30 overs left, less than that. And I was not, in that particular inning, I was not bowled. Up till that point, tea happens. I am walking behind the team. Ashok Mankad sir comes out. Okay, if you know the old dressing room, there were 2 doors.
Yeah.
One was visitors, one was home. So he was there at the staircase, right behind the side screen. So I am walking behind Samir Dege, who was captain of that team. Okay, and Ashok Mankad sir stops Samir Dege. Everyone goes inside. I'm 2-3 paces behind him. I could hear them. Okay, so Ashok Mankad says, "तुम रमेश पवार को bowling क्यों नहीं दे रहा है? हमको wicket चाहिए ये stage पे." So Samir Dege says, "I don't think he's ready for this level, and I don't think he's good enough." And I overheard that, and I thought, I'm in trouble. I think I have to be natural. I can't be pleasing everybody with dot balls or flat bowling. I used to bowl a lot of flights in the club cricket game, but I changed with the pressure of that particular match. And luckily, Samir Dege throws ball at me. I end up taking 3 wickets, Rajesh Pawar 4 wickets. So we won that game in next 10 overs. 10 overs left. So that particular match gave me that particular of confidence, where I got Gagan Khoda out at deep mid wicket with the flight. So I said, if I can get Gagan Khoda out with the flight, why should I bowl flat bowling? So then on, the journey was different. Then I used to run and bowl at that particular period. I used to run and bowl.
Yeah, correct.
I used to watch Shane Warne also at that particular time, and I thought he is in control when he is stable in the crease. He's walking nicely. and so there's no need of run up of so much of vigor. Just focus on the work in the crease. So I stopped running. I started walking. I practiced that particular run up, and then I applied it in the next season, I guess. And the journey was different. I could, bowl slow. I could vary my pace. I think first 2 seasons I was little flattish one, but once I got that confidence, and luckily I played at Eden Gardens where wicket was helpful to bowlers. So it changed with the people around. Like when you see Sairaj Bhautule bowling flight and getting wickets, when you see Nilesh Kulkarni getting bounce and taking wickets. So you try and achieve that. You can bowl flight, you can bowl flat, you can try and achieve bounce. Yes, Nilesh was tall, but I used to watch him a lot because he used to come when I used to play for, I used to practice at Academy of Dilip Sirs. So he used to come for the bowling, and he was difficult person to talk then because he was a different player then. And slowly and steadily, I connected with him somehow. And first day of my practice, I remember when the warm up was just one round, and the net starts with the small stretching. So I saw Nilesh Kulkarni running one extra round, second round, and he comes right next to me, and I asked him why you're. Ashok sir said only one round. Why you're running 2 rounds? He said I want to stay ahead of you guys, so I want to do an extra work. So that was impactful that time because there was. So I got that message in that you work extra. That makes sense because there's no spinners coach. There's no coaching at all. When I played for Ranji Trophy, I could see only man management because Ashok sir was managing Vinod Kamli, Ashok sir was managing Samir Dighe, he was managing Nilesh Kulkarni, Amol Muzumdar, Sachin used to come. So
Jatin Paranjpe.
Only man management skill at this level. So I have to find my own way to learn spin somewhere. Otherwise, you can't play this class of cricket.
I'm very disappointed you didn't mention Rahul Sanghvi and Kartik because we have always walked and bowled. I'm really disappointed that you mentioned.
No, I'm saying
you had examples that
by the way,
you are mentioning.
let me add. I had an opportunity to move to Bombay because when my dad got posted to Bombay, I was very close to Hemant Venkankar. So every time he used to come to Delhi, he would come home and he was the one who encouraged my dad because my dad was a bureaucrat and he was like, "Ye kya faltu cricket wicket khel rahe ho," and this and that. But he was one who was supportive. He said, "No, let him play. He's got something in him." And of course, later, Bedi sir was like, "No, let him play." So when my dad got posted to Bombay, that was when I was 16 or 17, I think. 17. So Hemant Venkankar said, "Why don't you move him to Bombay because we don't have enough spinners there, and he can play for Sangres Mofathlal, which was a big team, and he was managing that team. He said he can play for Sangres Mofathlal, and probably he'll be close to you, and he can start his career in Bombay." But somehow Bedi sir was like, no, you started playing cricket in Delhi, you got to continue in Delhi. And he was the one, he said, "Don't worry, he has to stay here." And my parents moved to Bombay and I stayed back in Delhi. Otherwise, probably if everything had gone well, I would have been playing along with Ramesh and we would have learned a lot more about spin bowling.
Listen, Nilesh is not going to like this, huh? Nilesh is not going to like this. Extra
but having said all this, I think bowling on red soil is a different ball game and you enjoy it. When it's a placid red soil wicket, it is tough for a spinner, but moment the second or the third day, it is enjoyable for a spinner, especially if you're able to toss it up, because with the toss and revolution, you get more bounce and that you need that much turn only. You don't need much, but that bounce and that much turn, it troubles a lot of batsmen. But wicket, of course, you go for runs as well.
No, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ramesh and Rahul here. See, we used to have those grounds, which was Wankhede, and you mentioned the dressing room. When you're sitting below, the ground was always, the pitch was always, or the square was always raised. So when you saw people at mid-off or mid-on, you could see only from waist onwards because of the height, and then the ball would. So was the case with M.A. Chidambaram Chepauk as well. The wicket was much raised. So the bounce was very different. The bounce and pace was very different. And I remember playing for the first time at Wankhede with the normal stands and stuff like that. And even at Chepauk. Chepauk was one of the fastest wickets. Sunny Bhai always said that one of the fastest wickets he has ever played was at Chepauk. But suddenly, with all the grounds going flat or at ground level, the square has also come. The square has also come at ground level. I think it's taken off that that effect of red soil, which helps the spinners. Nowadays, you can beat the man in the air at Wankhede and it goes 20 rows behind.
But having said that, Kartik, I think the concepts have also changed. The basics that earlier spinners had were more refined than the current spinners. The current spinners, because of the change of formats and the way the cricket is played, I think the work on basics is not there. If your basics are right, probably even now there are on the same grounds, whether Wankhede or Chepauk, you can still get the same bounce and spin. It is just, I mean, if you look at Ashwin bowling today in Chennai, when he tosses it up, he gets that effect, what we used to get in our days. But the others are not able to do that because they're so flat and there's the basics, which is like using your body, energy in one direction. There are a lot of faults in current spinners' actions and all. And they're bowling, some of them are just bowling with one arm and not bowling with both arms and body, and bowling with using the hip to have power going into the ball. So I think current cricket, watching a lot of cricket, I think the basics, no one is working on the basics, and players are just watching cricket on TV and coming up. But in our days, I thought the difference was we had some refined player who would come and talk to us, and there's other basics. Fortunately, there was not much cricket to be watched on TV. There were advantages and disadvantages as well. Like the advantages were that you were working with someone, and for you, your mind or your learning was through a person and not through something through TV or social media or anything like that. So we were fortunate that we had Gurcharan sir, Bedi sir, who were old school, Manivia. So we learned those basics from them and the concepts got clear. But at the same time, the disadvantage was when we were playing first class cricket, it was all talks about those old players. Oh, this guy comes and hits sixes outside Wankhede Stadium. So first match in Wankhede for me, I tell you, I mean, I heard about, oh, that guy, he hits outside the stadium, the ball has gone on the roof. Because we never seen on their footage on TV or anything. So we don't know. So those memory gets set into you and you go into a match with that panic, oh my, this guy can hit. But it's so advantage. I'm talking about advantage and disadvantage. So advantage is seeing everything today is that, you're able to analyze the players. But the disadvantage is a lot of faults are coming in. The kids are not getting one-to-one attention with a former player who was good in basics and good with mind games. So there are a lot of disadvantages going on today in terms of techniques and the mental aptitude about how to go about spin bowling.
That is something I'm going to come to both you guys, because as I said, start of this episode, that both of you are good coaches and you're helping people. Ramsey, you mentioned your grip. Rahul, both of you, the way you bowled, what was your basic grip? Both of you have a ball. I'm pretty sure Rahul's must have been very defined by Bishen Paji. And I'll start with you, Ramsey, this time around.
I think I basically learned grip. It has to be comfortable. So for an finger spinner, if you can manage to put your ball comfortably in first two fingers, the way you use it is important, the first finger, rather than grip. I think grip will vary. Some of them might be widest, like budgie. Some of be very close, but it is different when you use that particular finger. Grip for me is first and second finger comfortably placed on seam, and there has to be a little space. If you can see the light in between,
okay,
you can't just hold it in the palm. So that will not allow you to use your first finger, the bowling finger, to the fullest. That's what I learned with the time when I used to bowl. That you have to have a little bit of gap between the palm and the ball. And most important thing, after a while, in first two seasons, I was bowling full tosses. I was bowling short balls, but because there was no control. So after using third finger onto the ball, it gave me a lot of control. And that's what I try and convey to a lot of young spinners, because they get used to in this thing, get first two fingers like this or whatever way it may be, but they forget to support with the third finger. So I always encourage third finger support, which creates automatic cup, and you will release the ball like a overspin. If the finger is not there, you are going to go undercut or push through. So grip is very important for me. That's what I encourage a lot of young kids, whoever comes across, because I try and someone who is playing India A or NCA boys, I watch these things also. If the control is not there, where the release is going, it's not decisive release, then I intervene and I tell them that, if you use this thing, third finger, it might help you.
Rahul?
Well, for me, because I had short fingers, so my grip was always, I mean, when I met Bedi sir, again, as Ramesh said, it is top two fingers. I had the thumb on the seam, and obviously, as this is for control, as you said, the third and the fourth finger. So the basic idea was, I mean, what I was taught by Bedi sir, and which went well with me, is that how do you keep your fingers and wrists supple? Because as a finger spinner, you're not a wrist spinner, you're bowling through the wrist. But as a finger spinner, it's a finger and the wrist which has to come in play. So the idea about keeping this supple, so my grip was such, obviously has to, unlike Ramesh, because Ramesh would have the ball in the fingers, we were taught to, have the ball touching your palm. So that gives you support, basically. That gives you balance while you're in your delivery. It gives you balance, and then with your fingers, you try and turn, and then the thumb comes into play to give direction, and the wrist also comes into play. So basically what that did, I mean, I'm not a science guy, but how it helped me was that with that action, which is like basically holding the ball, planting it on the palm, which gives you control, the ball is right balanced there. And then when you're in the position to deliver, your wrist position is in a proper position, and then you with the thumb you give direction, with the finger you spin, and then what it does is it won't turn much because I'm not holding the ball in my fingers, but it gave me a natural drift. It gives me direction, it gave me a natural drift and a little turn and bounce, because the ball was always going on the seam. As it was balanced right here between the palm, the fingers, the third and the fourth finger and the thumb, it always would land on the seam. And that was my strength, and I thought that's good for me because my fingers are supple, my wrist is supple. At the same time, I'm giving direction to the ball and putting revs on it. And that's how it worked for me. For me, if I hold the ball tight, it never worked for me because I was never able to release the ball the way I wanted to release it. So sometimes it would pitch short, sometimes it would be a full toss. So the thing that I learned, and that's a concept which has gone into my rhythm and my bowling and all. And even today, if I bowl in the nets, it lands there because I've always had the ball on the palm, resting on the palm, the fingers on top, thumb to give direction, and these two fingers following the direction of the ball and giving that extra thing from the wrist on the ball. And what it did was it would help me drift the ball and just a slight turn and bounce. So more about bounce and little turn, but more about the drift and the tip that I got through this the way I holded the ball.
It's a very interesting one because look, we come from the Bedi school of thought, and over there it was interesting because in spite of having played with Ramesh for such a long time, I didn't realize that his grip was slightly different. Manivia, and again I'll tell you what Rahul said. We were always told that the crescent of the palm is where the ball should be lightly resting. And it's interesting again that I noticed something in Rahul's action in spite of having bowled hours on end, because for me that palm was always there, the ball was always like this, the thumb was always literally on the seam to give, it was a support. Whereas this middle finger is where it goes over and you put all the effort, and the palm gives you a bit of control. For me, I always thought that Rahul's three fingers were always together because me and Manibhaiya, these three fingers were always together. I didn't realize that Rahul was a bit like Ramesh Powar, that third finger, because Bhaji was an interesting action. Bhaji was like this. And I could never imagine bowling the way Bhaji held the ball.
And he had the ball resting on his palm. I mean, he had a wideish top two fingers holding the ball like
Yeah.
that, but he still
Yeah.
had the thumb on the ball. He
Yeah.
still had the third and the fourth little finger on the ball and a little bit of palm. So he had the ball resting on the palm. But maybe
Yeah, it was
probably
interesting.
because he had longer fingers, so
Yeah.
he found that comfortable. With me, with shorter fingers, I found resting the ball in the palm and loose grip on the top more comfortable.
Yeah, and again, it was interesting when Ramesh said that he had a gap, which is a very interesting one, because for me, I could never have a gap, because every time I had a gap, I would feel that I have no control over the ball. And thumb and the palm were the rudder and support to do whatever you wanted. Once I felt that I had a bit of palm support, I knew I could move my wrist whichever way you wanted, because then it's actually sliding off the palm, slightly sliding off the palm with a bit of control is something which I felt. Ramsey, did you use your thumb? Did the thumb ever come into play
My
for you?
thumb was always there.
Okay.
My
Okay.
thumb was always resting on the seam.
Okay.
My only fundamental thing is my ball has to be ahead.
Okay. That's an interesting one.
Thumb like this, okay? So this is
Yeah.
control, but if I want to vary my flights, then I'm stuck with this. I can only do one thing, that is controlled flight. When I want to increase pace, okay, or I want to slow it down, it helped me a lot when I kept my ball right ahead, okay. If you see, you can see my whole palm, okay.
I can see it. When you showed it this way, I could see the entire gap, a light going through.
If I want to bowl flat, no, I will hold like this. Whenever I bowl flat, I used to hold ball back basically inside the cup. And if I want to bowl flights, it is away from that palm. So I am basically at this particular grip, I am an attacking bowler. I'm trying to take wickets with the flight variations. If I want to control, I just have to get that ball inside and just bowl 6 balls at a particular spot. If I want to take wickets, yes, I have to do something else where batsmen need to see my, I have to show them that I'm also brave enough to challenge you. There's an ego battle between me and he, and which I have learned in the nets of Mumbai. Ranji Trophy, Jatin used to bat, Vinod used to bat, Amol used to bat. When you're bowling like this to these guys, they're going to hammer you. They're going to step out every ball, and they will not allow you to bowl what you want to bowl. With this, I bowled very slow, so they used to get irritated. Then I used to control them through my flight variation. That's what I learned with these grades. That Vinod, Amol was fantastic in nets and matches against spin bowlers. And it was if you get Wasim Jafar, Amol Mujumdar out in that net, that means you're going to get 5 wickets every time you're in good form, because these guys were very difficult to get out, simple as that, in nets, because it was when we used to practice, there were damp surfaces. If you're not bowling flight and you're bowling flat, they are going to sit back on back foot and pull you away or cut you away. So I have to find a way where I did find a way that, holding the ball inside is not helping me. Let me try this. So it's basically a journey where grip changed over the years.
Yeah,
I used
100%.
to only use this top of the finger first, of both fingers. Then I started using the center part of the fingers.
Middle finger.
So it is journey. When you start conversing with people like Murali, Kartik, Nilesh Kulkarni, or maybe some other bowlers like Sunil Joshi, Harbhajan Singh, and you learn a lot of things. Then some grips, some releases. When I saw Kartik bowling at Wankhede, he used to get a lot of wickets. But I used to observe him, why he's getting wickets. Because he's bowling against Mumbai bowlers and he's tall guy, and the red soil, he used to get bounced. No one, I didn't think that particular time, no one tried to step out and play to Murali Kartik. He was very accurate. And against Mumbai bowlers, Mumbai batsmen, he was successful because of that. I think he used to get shape on the ball. Pace was not something which you can go forward or go back. So I learned a lot of things from Kartik.
No, it's a fascinating. That's why I love talking spin so much. when you look at all the players, things which have worked for them, and I've realized more so that you can help young bowlers, but at the end of the day, they need to find something. And obviously, initially you teach them a grip, but there are, as you said, Ramesh, and as Rahul has also mentioned, your journey is yours because you bowl, you get a feel of, oh, this worked for me. Why did that work for me? And I think that is something which a spinner needs to realize. The spinner only gets up on that curve of improvement only when he starts realizing that, oh, these are the things I can experiment with. These are the things which work for me. So with your variations as well, I'm pretty sure that you guys, with the arm ball and the top spinner, which you mentioned, what was the grip like, Rahul? You pulled a nice drifting arm ball. What were the variations which you guys had, and how would you say that you guys released them?
So first and foremost, as everyone is different, as Ramesh had a different grip, you had similar to mine, but you had stronger fingers. For me, more than the grip, it was all about the rhythm. For me, it was about my body being supple, nice and loose, for me to be in a good rhythm and good action.
Yeah.
And I thought, nowadays not many people do slow running or doing a couple of laps of the ground, but for me that was important. Maybe that's the habit that was formed from an early age, and it gave me that, if I'm nice and loose, I'm a much better bowler than being real stiff. So I always believe that, for keeping my body loose and getting the nice rhythm, that those laps of the ground, like few laps of a cricket ground from 5 to 10, made my body supple. Or probably I was taught that way and my mind started functioning that way, because it was all thanks to Bedi sir. And I always felt that, even while playing Ranji Trophy matches and bowling few 30 overs, 40 overs in a day, that few laps after the match helped me recover and be again supple the next day to come and deliver. Okay. So the rhythm was the most important part. If I didn't have the rhythm, I would struggle. Then my front arm would be loading more, or the back arm would be firing more. So it was just about the natural rhythm from the start point into the delivery, stride, and follow through. If everything was going in a rhythm, I felt that everything came in place. And then came the grip. Obviously, the grip was important. Again, my grip was based on my body, my fingers being supple, my wrist being supple. So as you hold the ball like that, the way I said, but if I wanted to if someone tried to take the ball out, it would be so easy. I'm not holding it. And as Ramesh said, he had a release point, which is from the side of the finger, and he would get a scar here. For me, the release point was on the top of the finger.
In the front, yeah.
In the front, it was like from there rather than from here, because that was my grip. And the moment I had a tighter grip, I wouldn't feel comfortable. So for me, the first thing was the rhythm, starting from where you start your delivery, your run up into delivery stride and follow through. So all about rhythm, holding everything nice and loose and being in a correct action, and obviously using the front arm. If this had dropped for me, maybe it was for me, I was not as strong. I didn't have a very strong body, unlike Ramesh and Kartik. You have stronger belt. I always felt that because I was strong in my body, if I was nice and side on and close to the wicket, I was able to release more energy into the ball and get the ball doing something. My challenge was at times playing one-day cricket at all, because you want to fire it quick for the batsman to not hit you. Sometimes you started, if I was slightly away from the stumps and bowling from far away from the stump, with that angle, my front arm used to drop, and I never used to get energy because maybe my torso is not that strong. But unlike Kartik, would probably, even if he was bowling from far away from the crease, he had that strength to get the ball going and doing something. So I always focused on the rhythm, being close to the wicket so that my body's side on. I'm releasing everything in one line, energy. So it's like when you're punching, if you punch from a different angle, you won't get that energy. But if you're straight on and when you're punching, you have more energy. Or it's like a javelin throw. If you have to throw a javelin, if I throw from a different angle, with my body not in the right position, I don't get that energy. But if everything is in one line and if I'm throwing, then 100%. Everything goes well. So my focus was always about good rhythm, good run up, being side on close to the wicket, so that I'm always having the right energy flowing through one channel, straight angle into the delivery stride and follow through. And that really helped me. And that's why I had that natural drip. I used to believe a lot in the drip. If I didn't have a drip, I would have been a very bad bowler, not playing anything. For me, it was more about the drift in the air So ball starting from off stump, middle stump, and going into leg stump, which would deceive the batsman, and obviously the ball dropping along with the drift. So at times I would like playing on a Delhi surface with fast bowlers. There was hardly any bounce. Those days the nature of the wicket was it would skid. But I played a role where I had to bowl among those fast bowlers to bowl 30, 35 overs. And I was chosen to do that because I was accurate. And that accuracy came because I had a nice drift. So it started at a certain point, but it landed at a certain point. So that made me accurate, and players used to play me in a certain fashion. It didn't turn much, but because of the drift, it seemed as if the ball turned a little bit. So for me to get that going, that was my basic funda. That's my stock delivery. My rhythm was very important. My energy flowing, side-on energy in one line was very important. And then the follow-through, whatever came naturally. In the nets, obviously, I used to do a prolonged follow-through so that in the match I could at least be going into the follow-through and getting my hip going into the ball, which helped me in tipping the ball and drifting the ball. So that was my focus. Arm ball, as you said, this was my natural grip. And in winters in Delhi, obviously the ball used to swing because I was playing among the fast bowlers. So I'd early on learned from Bedi sir how to bowl the arm ball. There is one finger ball, which is very easy while you're holding the ball to change. But I was not comfortable again because I had short fingers. So for me, I would in my action, I would change the grip to a seam bowling action, and very naturally and try and drift the ball. Again, in that, there were two things I used to do. One is just releasing it and long arm release, going through the ball so that the ball is going slow in the air but swinging in. And the other one was like really hitting it short arm so that you move pace into the ball in the air and it was quicker in the air. So those two things, and obviously undercutting was not something I used to do intentionally, but automatically I learned playing cricket that if you go away from the wickets, if you're slightly away and bowling from an angle, you tend to, because everyone tries to spin the ball. If let's say if my finger position is here, then I'm side on and correct. If I'm slightly open, automatically the seam position changes. You're still spinning the ball. So I learned that if I use the crease, trying to do the same, trying to spin the ball, at times is to not spin and undercut and just keep low. So those are the variations I luckily having Bedi sir, Gurcharan sir, the emphasis was on the stock ball. That you perfect your stock ball, rest you learn along your journey. And which actually happened that while playing cricket, while playing matches, getting hit for runs, going here and there, suddenly you started experimenting and you started learning different facets of the game. It's like, okay, if you're close to the wicket, what happens? If you're side to the wicket, what happens? If you're bowling from behind, what happens? If you're bowling your stock delivery from the front foot being in the middle of the crease, in the box, and then when you go a little ahead, what happens that, it's deceptive and deceives the batsman that, okay, how did this come quicker? Because the batsman won't realize that I'm bowling closer to him or bowling behind them. So all those angles came along with the game, and it came naturally because you're into the game, you're trying to understand the game, you're trying to understand your bowling. But for me, the basics were the most important, and that concepts, once they are clear, they are there with you forever. Even today, if I go in the nets, because the concepts are clear that how you're supposed to be side arm, long arm release, body naturally being supple. So then things happen. So for me, the basics were very important. And then obviously, once I knew that the ball is doing something there, it's playing with the batsman. That's a mind game that will come later.
Yeah, 100%. Ramsey?
I think the first 2 years, I was only bowling drift and spin because I was successful first 2 years. But then after third year, people knew what I'm doing. In fact, in the nets, everyone was covering my line and they knew that it is going to come in as a right-hander. So we have to just cover the line and play through mid-wicket or to long on or over my head. So luckily in practices, I got this opportunity to learn about me that, they know what I'm doing now. So I have to find a way where I have to take the ball away. Otherwise, I'm not going to get wickets. And Rahul correctly said there, everyone have their own things. They learn with time. Some of them tweak a little bit of their fundamentals. But for me, it was like when I am watching people around me, there were hardly any off spinners. Harbhajan was there, Sarandeep was there, but they are bowling dusras, which is impossible for me to bowl because I was side on. So I am looking at bowlers like, again, Kartik, Sanghvi, because I played first year where Rahul played against us, and he got Vinod Kamble, I think, second ball out. But luckily for us, umpire was on our side and he managed to score 100. And we couldn't. But I learned a lot of things. I used to watch these guys, or Nilesh was there, or some of the local bowlers.
Nilesh was a very different release, Ramsey. Nilesh was a very different release.
Yeah, but then again, that's what I'm saying. I was influenced by Nilesh because he was.
You saw more of him.
Yeah,
because you saw more of him.
And he could control the game with the straight balls, and then he used to turn one odd ball. I was other way around. I was only turning the ball, and I was trying to learn that how can I get that away ball. So I I used to watch Nilesh from behind because we used to bowl together. Nilesh, me, Sai. Rajesh Powar. So when Nilesh used to bowl, he used to either bowl undercuts more, or he used to bowl side spin like this.
Yeah.
So I used to try that, but first I didn't knew that I have to hold shiny side inside. I used to do the other way around. So whenever I used to bowl, it used to land on the rough side and he used to turn. So I was little in confusion mode. Iska ja raha hai seedha, mera kyun nahi ja raha seedha? So then he told me that you have to hold shiny side inside. You can't just go with the rough side. So when you hit this shiny side, it will go through. So I learned that first ball that you put your arm behind the ball rather than over the ball. Just do this basically. And I had some success with that ball. But with the time, they also knew, the batsman, that he has got this one. So then I, as Rahul said, that first finger release I learned. Like outswinger. For me, it was very easy. Fundamentally, I just thought, use your arm behind the ball, wrist behind the ball. I didn't try anything else. Just arm behind the ball, wrist behind the ball. So basically, its energy starts from the arm, wrist, and on to the fingers. So it ends like a little whip. You're slicing the ball, slicing something with the arm. Simple as that. So I was successful in, I think, that particular season. I bowled this ball. Then I learned that, picked up. So I tried this ball. And I could manage to learn. I think I had that in me that I could learn a little quicker because I used to bowl 2 to 3 hours at a go. I think that helped me a lot. I think that is the point where I could, see myself where I'm going in that particular session. 2 hours of bowling. If there's no quality, then I'm wasting my time. So slowly that 2 hours, from 2 hours, when you grow older and older, that 2 hours, you're not going to bowl 2 hours. After bowling 100 overs in 2 games or full season you're playing, you end up bowling 400, 500 overs. So you know what exactly you want to do. So quality comes in, quantity goes out. So that's what I've learned, that, don't try anything else. If you go to change, if you try and change lower body, it will take time. So might as well just, use your arm. Energy starts from down to up, arm, wrist, and the finger just behind the ball. That's what I learned. And for me, fascinating to see was left-hand spinners' armor always. The way they got someone out leg before while cutting the ball or bowled. So that was exciting. So I wanted to learn that always. It has to be intent, makes a lot of difference. I think the way our ways will be different. The way Kartik bowls his armor or Rahul bowls his armor is different, or Sarandeep bowls his dusra, or Bhaji bowls his dusra is different. The intent behind that is important. Intent is learning. Intent is to deceive the batsman, and from inside you get that satisfaction that I'm beating them in there. I'm beating them off the pitch. That's something which is I think right now missing with the young cricketers which I see. I think they come there to play their roles more rather than enjoying these little things. That the sweet feel of the release of the ball. When batsman says when I hit that sweet spot, I know I'm in form. For me, maybe that sweet release was the thing which I see nowadays is missing because of the pressure, because of the maybe white ball cricket, maybe flat wickets, maybe the pressure on them. Because I don't think we went through such pressures of management, team management, that you have to perform every game, you have to win us every game. So it makes a lot of sense when you pull them back from that zone. When I coach, I pull them from that zone, that you have to basically you have to start thinking on these lines, that why you started playing this game, and that's where you connect with that particular player and you can work on that player. So for me, always enjoying that release, whatever it is spin, armor, or whatever fundamentals. There are a lot of fundamentals for different players. It's not it क्रिकेट बुक में बेसिक्स लिखे हुए हैं, लेकिन मेरे बेसिक्स अलग है, राहुल के अलग है, मुरली कार्तिक के अलग है, वॉशिंगटन सुंदर के अब अलग होंगे, जडेजा के अलग होंगे. तो अगर हम बुक से सिखाने जाएंगे बहुत डिफिकल्ट है सिखाना, अगर आप कनेक्ट होके सिखाएंगे तो बहुत इजी है सिखाना. तो ये मैं
बुक से
कि भाई बेसिक अगर सीखना है तो पहले जोन ये क्रिएट करोगे.
Book से सिखाना is very tough, because unless and until you've got a newborn baby given to you or an empty slate, then you can teach by the book. Whereas if somebody has played and he comes to you, and that is a completely different scenario altogether. You've only got to work with what you have and Joe what works for him.